attach the hose, yep, so I can then pull the hose up, and once she turns the tap on, I've got running water up here as and when I need it, which is quite handy. Great, thank you. So now I've got running water up here. I can fill that. And I go and get a bag of the base coat. Now, I don't own a plasterer's hawk, which is a little bit tricky, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to do it without one of those, but I've never done any of this, so all of it's a challenge. That's the idea. Mixed up the K Rend. That's still a little bit runny actually. Just looking at that. No, I think that's a bit runny. I reckon I need to add a bit more. That should really hold itself when you run something through it. That should just hold perfectly in place. The sides shouldn't collapse in like that. So I'm going to add a bit more powder and mix again. Give you a little update on the first few passes. So what I've done is I've gone and got my builder's trowel, a big one, a kind of 280mm trowel, and I'm semi-using that as a hawk. I'm kind of passing it between the two and then troweling it up here. So I've not gone very far, but it's going on, it's applying nicely. I just need to kind of get the levels up a little bit. Just keep going over it, build it up, and work my way along. I've got a lot to do. But this is the first pass, so we're getting there. Just loaded up another bucket and a half of render. This is how it's going on. Just started this section here, so you can see that's slightly darker than that lot. So that's that section there, that's the bit that's already started to dry. It's not, I mean, it's not dry, but it doesn't leave my hand feeling wet when I touch it. Whereas that stuff is wet because I've just applied it, so I'm still smoothing up there. All of this is the rough coat still. It's the base, it's rough, goes on, and then I leave it to dry for 24 hours, and then I come back and do the top coat, and then leave that for 12 to 18 hours, and then do the scratch coat, or scratch it down. So this is still rough, doesn't matter, but it's going on nicely. It goes on really easily, smoothly, even, all that sort of stuff. So I'm really pleased with how it's coming along. It's messy though, messy job. Some crazy rain. Whoa! That has literally come out of nowhere. Whoa! Louise. Taking shelter at the back of the building. This is crazy. I can't render in it, but I can't just stop. I've got half a bucket full of render. It's 5:20. It's time for me to stop and go in. Looks a little bit like a freshly pisted ski slope in a way. I'm quite pleased with it, to be honest with you. I know it looks a little rough. That's almost touch dry now. Still a little bit damp. It's meant to be rough, as you know, because it's the base coat. It's a little thin. I think I have to do some more base coat before I then do the top coat. And obviously I've got to finish this section here. So that was the best part of 3 bags. Which is it's definitely too thin. It's meant to be 1 bag per square metre, so that should have been more like 7 bags, and I did 4, so yeah, definitely thin. So I've got to make it up tomorrow and the day after, but it's getting there, and every coat I think will get easier. I think it'll be easier and easier to get a level, to get it flat, and my technique is getting better. You know, there are sections that are very, very smooth, and we're building it up. It is the next day. Dry, but it's kind of got a little bit of press to it if you push hard, a little bit spongy, which is perfect. That's great. Obviously I did it way too thin yesterday. I was fine with that. I needed to get used to putting it on, applying it, and I didn't want to put it on too hard or too thick. And also I think my mixture was too runny, personally. I think some bits were fine, some bits were just too runny, hence why you got a little bit of droop on there, a little bit of kind of droop down there. But it's okay. Again, no one's ever going to see it, which is fine, and it's a good first pass. What I'm going to do this time is put another thin layer of base coat and press in that mesh all the way along. I'll finish all of that today, and I'm going to try and base coat the whole thing. I'll do the top bit thicker now that I know what I'm doing. So I reckon this is that's 2 bags there, I reckon, plus another 1 there. So yeah, I think I'll probably end up using most of the base coat. We'll get there. So I'm going to cut open this and get some of the pink mesh measured out. Mixed up another batch, much thicker this time, much thicker, holding its shape nicely. That is spot on. A little tip that I read online last night while I was doing a bit more reading about all this is to just mix it in smaller batches. Do them more regularly, but just mix a half bag at a time or a third of a bag. Unless you've got a big paddle mixer, you're never going to be able to mix all of it, and it's just massive and there's just no need. So doing a quarter bag, half bag, third bag, whatever it is, and then just mix it up in the proportion that it needs is a lot easier and actually probably quicker in the long run. So now I can go back over it. You can see where the drip bead is showing through, so all of that will get covered and a lot of this will get taken out, and then I can put up this mesh that I've got ready to go. So I've cut a bit of mesh, first little bit down in the corner in the tricky bit. I'm just pushing it in, just nudging it through, and then I'll just put a little skim of base over the top if it needs it. But actually it goes in quite easily, this stuff. So anytime you're doing this, you've got to make sure that you leave at least 100 mil of overlap, so 10 centimeters of overlap across there, 100 mil of overlap, like that, to then be able to do the next one. I'll cut some more mesh and put it up, doing it in stages so that it's easier to handle, and also so it doesn't set up. You know, by the time I've done a whole run, this stuff would be setting up, so I've got to cut and install the mesh in sections. Second little section cut. I'm now up to level, so I know where to stop rendering up, so I can concentrate on just this strip. And this is hopefully what you can see I mean by having 100 mil of overlap. The old one, the first one stopped there, this one stops here, and again you just push it down, push it through. Like that. Do that the whole way along, and then go up a level. So you can see what a difference having a slightly thicker mix and that netting makes. Look at that. That is as smooth as a baby's left kneecap. And then once I put the top coat on and we do the scratch down, it'll look even better. I think this will actually look quite nice when it's done. So I'm just going to carry on along here. As you can tell, I'm stopping at that level there because that's the height of the strip, the mesh. So I'll just keep going along. I've knocked up another kind of half a bag. So I'll just keep going. This method's working. It's not taking me too long. I mean, it's not quick, but it's not too bad, and it means I'm getting a nice quality finish, so I'm happy to take the time to do it. Well, there is still a lot to do. Finished off that little section down there. Now I've got to do this next lot up here. I can reach up there, but after that I'm going to have to set up some sort of platform to stand on to get that top last bit. But it shouldn't take too long now. I've got a bucket of gear knocked up, and I should be able to get that done pretty quickly. I'm going to unroll a load more of the mesh, get that ready in place, and then crack on. Got another coat up, just maybe another, I reckon that's about a one square metre, give or take. So I've got to set up a little trestle. So what I've got two separate ladders, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set them up. Okay, I'm going to set up a ladder like this. I'm going to set up the other one on the other side, then run a board between the two of them. So it's fairly simple trestle. It's secured at the top. The ladder goes up. The ladder is behind there, but it's wedged with that, so it's actually very, very sturdy. And it's the same on the other side. Pulled up these boards to take my hefty weight. Got the bucket on here ready to go. Last couple of meters now, I think. I reckon we're almost there. I think that's about the height of one span of this roll. Maybe a little more, but not too much more. Home stretch. Finished. Well, finished the base coat anyway. So this now needs to set, and then I can come back and do it all again with the top coat. So I'm back after a couple of hours of letting this sit, and it is, I mean, it's soft, but it's not wet, you know. There are firm bits and then there are little spongy bits that you can see. I was having a chat with the wife and had a look online. The base coat of K Rend is silicone based as well, which means it's waterproof, which means that is protection on the side of the house. And all that I'd be doing is adding more protection by adding the top coat, which is great, but ultimately it's going to be covered with a new roof. So to a degree I'm kind of wasting money and time by putting the top coat up here. I'm still in two minds, I haven't decided, but I think I'm erring towards not bothering. I know that sounds terrible, I know that sounds cheap and lazy, but I'm gonna do a bit of research and see. Obviously there are parts where you can see the mesh, but there is the best part of 4mm worth of render underneath it. I just think it's a waste of money and time to get something really, really smooth and lovely looking just to then cover it with a roof. That means it's not going to be seen again. So yeah, I think I will wait and see what I think after spending a bit of time researching on the internet. It's the day after I've done this render, and this is fully set up now. You know what? It looks in pretty good nick, you know. It's waterproof, it's secure, relatively clean. I might take the little scratcher over it just off some of the high spots, but actually I am just going to leave it. There is no point wasting a whole, 12 square meters of top coat for something that's going to be covered. It might look a little bit ugly, but it doesn't matter. It's going to get covered anyway. There's going to be a roof over it. And I looked it up all online. The base coat is just as waterproof as the top coat. There's no additional waterproofing. Well, there is additional waterproofing by virtue of the fact that it has a top coat, but the base coat is no less waterproof than the top coat on K Rend because it's still silicone. Yeah, pleased with that. Pleased with that.